This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everybody. I just find this fascinating. I had this thought the other day that even with all the technology we have, social media, digital, AI, all of this going on right now in our world, it comes back to one fundamental thing that has been in existence since the beginning of us. And I don't mean us, I mean human existence. The word, the verbal word, the written word, what we say, what we hear, how much of an impact that has on us and others. Even the stuff you say to yourself, whether you know it or not, the stuff you think has an impact. All that communication really does make a huge difference. And we're doing the same thing, just in a different way with today's technology. We're going to start with the word and communication and so much more today. Very excited to have her here. She's a Galactic Shaman, Reiki master, animal healer, sound healer, and so much more. Shayna Blackmar is on the program. How are you doing today?
Hi, good morning. Well, I'm glad to be warm after the past week.
I'm just looking
doing
at
great.
your palm tree in the background. I'm getting warm. I'm feeling that palm's energy right there.
Yeah,
Uh,
good vibes.
yeah, it's so funny. Like I was just talking to people on the other side of the country. I'm in New York, and we had a snowstorm. We have another one potentially coming this weekend. I think it's called a cyclone bomb if it materializes. But people on the other side of the country are watching our weather. Like even though it's warm in other places, that people are intrigued about, what others are dealing with. I find it interesting. What's your weather like there in Texas?
It's sunny and warm today, but it was super icy, and we're supposed to get another little cold snap on Saturday, but I'm grateful for the sun.
See, that's the difference between New York and Texas. When it gets a little chilly, it's going to warm up. You just know. I mean, that's another day or two or whatever. So I'm glad we cleaned up our place because we have company here today. Who's joining us?
My friend Carly Simonek is joining us today. She's the founder of the Elevate platform. And yeah, we're going to talk about some wonderful things and safety and being around just energetic healing and being in this space.
Welcome, Carly. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm also in Texas at the moment, so
Ah,
looking for the sun.
wow. Okay. I'm jealous. I wish I was there. Where should we begin today, Shayna? What are you feeling?
Um, well, Carly and I had kind of thrown some things back and forth, and it keeps coming up for both of us how important it is to follow your heart and feel safe in doing these energetic healing practices. And there's so much out there. And you could say that for anything, but it's really important to follow your heart, basically.
Is it a factor of who we are that we always want to gravitate toward the safe? And that's a good thing. It's kept us here on this planet from the beginning, but also at the same time, sometimes we're a little too safe, then we shy away change, and then there's no transformation from that point. How do you get out of that safe spot? You want to be there, and sometimes
Right,
you need to be.
yeah. Well, to me, the difference is the feeling. Like if you're choosing safe or comfort out of past experiences or just programming that this is what you should do, is different from the safety in your heart and feeling something that brings you peace, something that calms your nervous system, that brings that in for you. And I know
I
Carly had some great experiences around this too, so that's
oh,
why she's perfect.
I was going to share. You go first, please.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think feeling safe while keeping momentum in a direction that you're wanting to go. I think that what I see in talking to people a lot of times, if they feel like they need to change or need to gravitate towards doing something within their life, a lot of times we we think we have to do things in really big ways, really fast, in a fast manner. And sometimes that can, you know, derail you in a sense, or kind of make the path not as flowing. So for example, if we take this even away from like the spiritual sense, we talk about New Year's resolutions, we talk about working out, eating healthier, going to the gym. A lot of times people say, okay, starting Monday, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to run, I'm going to switch my entire diet. And then that much change without a safety and a flow of like consistency, it kind of jars the system, your nervous system as well, and just being able to keep up with it. So it's harder for you to keep up with those new habits. And I think with spirituality as well, like slow, steady momentum is sometimes better than these like really big, impulsive, jarring things to the nervous system, if that makes sense.
Totally. And Carly, do you think let's go with the New Year's resolution view that, all right, it's January 1st. Out of the gate, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. Like there's too much to process and too much even to get your heart around to make it effective and productive. That's probably why after 2 weeks, 14 days or so, myself included, not even kidding, it happened. I never thought it would. There's other reasons involved there. But that's why there's just too much going on. Do you think that's why?
Well, Shayna can also talk on this too, but I mean, just January in general, we see it as a new calendar year for us,
Sure.
but we're still much so in like hibernation state. So with the New Year's, I've always kind of been not hesitant because if anyone wants to change habits, I think that that's amazing, but I think we are still in this state of the cold weather, the hibernation, the going inward. It's really changing with the seasons. So spring is when you're really supposed to incorporate these new things. Our body knows this. So
Mm,
one, there's resistance there. But two, I think with any habit, the best habits that I've done, have been I start one small thing, I do that for a week or two, see how I feel empowered by that, and then you add on something next, and then 6, 8 months later, your entire regimen has changed and you feel really good about that because you're showing yourself, you're showing the universe that you can show up and do this. And it's exciting from there.
it almost seems that many of us don't count the wins, the little things that happen along the way. Like if you look back a year, what has transpired in a year? It's almost mind blowing. Like, wow, that happened, that happened. I got past that. You start maybe taking stock of your resilience along the way, and it sometimes feels good, but we don't. We don't do that. We just do life, and I guess we don't take it to heart. Is the best description I could come up with. Shayna, how do we refocus this so that we are on track with growth and moving forward?
Yeah, to me, what was coming up while I was listening to you both was creating a stable foundation. If you're doing a whole bunch of things, if you're doing things that other people are doing that may not be right for you, if you're doing things
Mm,
that, 10 new things at once, that's not sustainable. So if you want to create a strong, stable foundation, it's gotta feel good to your heart. It's gotta be what's right for you, and it's gotta be, baby steps that you build on versus a whole bunch of little tiny things that aren't strong.
back to the gym analogy, and to illustrate this, listening to within. I was going to the gym before the start of the year, kind of ramped it up, and going with a friend. It was okay. It was all good. Now the first of the year transpires and still going. However, he wants to go very early, likes to talk a lot. And my thought was that, you know what? Successful people start their day early and get a lot done. And I pulled the plug on it just a couple of days ago because I wasn't feeling it in my heart. Like I'm not benefiting. I'm not getting like super good workout, which I thought would be too much talking. I like to communicate, but I got a goal. Getting up early was like draining on me if I wasn't seeing the benefit. I'm just going to go back by myself and go back to the time I was going. but I felt it in my heart, and it was just this is not working for you. You need to, make some changes. But I have to say, for the first time, I actually felt it. Like, this is just not resonating. I got out of my head and got into my heart. And I think that's the game changer. How do we do that on a more regular basis? Kind of bypass the head. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, everything's got to go through the heart for it to be sustainable in my experience. And, I'm learning to retrain myself so that instead of just doing what I think, moving back into feeling, moving back into the heart and asking over and over and over, does this feel right? Is this what's right for me? Is this what's great? And I think there's something good in every experience. Like you, whether it was the working out or some connection with your friend, it was also the really feeling that you said you felt that no, this is not for me right now. And maybe it was, and now things have shifted, but to really trust that feeling, because now something else is going to be more in alignment with where you are now.
hmm And it wasn't for naught. I always do what's called a
Right.
plus delta. What's the wins? What's the negative? Went to a different gym closer to where I live, which was kind of interesting, different experience. Learned some new routines and things like that. So it wasn't for naught, but I went with the heart. So question on that: when you listen to your heart, which was a song by the band Roxette in the late '80s, came out from a movie. Listen to you, and it was turned into a dance song too. Um, is intuition inherently part of that when you listen to your heart?
Carly?
Yeah, I'm like giddy thinking about it. I think I think if we bring more just instead of trying to figure things out in a way of what's not working, what's this, in like a playful, creative way, I think your intuition and your heart like really shines through. So listening to Shayna and you talk, it just reminded me of those times. Shayna actually helped me recently through something around meditation. And I know we're talking about the gym, but I came to her and I said, I'm struggling meditating because I have so much energy and excitement in the morning. And then when I meditate in the morning, I feel like I need to take a nap. And I don't really want to start my day off this way.
I'm the same
And
way. It's the same
okay.
situation. I wake up, same thing. Do you wake up and it's like, all right, I start my day. It's like, all right, tap the brakes, lay back a little bit, collect your thoughts, and then all of a sudden you fall asleep. But I wrestle with, is that a bad thing? Because you were in such a relaxed, connected way that I wonder if the magic was happening anyway. I don't know. Conflicted.
Yeah, well, get ready for this. She said, Carly, well, like asking me what, like how I'm meditating. And she's like, why? Asking me like why do you feel like you need to sit still and meditate? There's walking meditation. She explained how she goes into nature and
Yep.
meditates. There's moving your body and meditating. And so I think so much when we get into these like conditioned mindsets that you have to wake up or like the business people go work out in the morning and like doing it a certain way. I think when you allow your body, your heart, your intuition to speak through and allow creativity with that with no judgment. You see, I mean, some people, I like to do more active things in the morning because if I do them in the evening, I'm up all night. Vice versa, if I'm really sitting deep in the morning, probably going to need a nap. So I think when we take away all judgment, it allows it to kind of shine through. Whether it's the gym, whether it's meditating, but there are no right rules to this, right? It's just what makes us feel good.
So, like, you're like my soul sister. I totally agree with you. And I've gotten to the point now where my best connections with self came just staring at a thumbtack on the wall or just any object. And I'm in a men's group, and actually we meet tonight. And, we support, but it's also community service leadership. There have been times where there's a group discussion going on. Lack of a better description, I zoned out intentionally, and I just stared at something on the wall And based on the conversation, I got these amazing epiphanies, even connections to my dad and, things that transpired back in the day and how, oh, that's why that happened because that helped me. Now I looked at it as a kid as a bad thing, but no, this is fantastic. And that's just one example of things that came up. I could right now, I could zone out in a second. And I guess it's meditation. I could just stare at something and I'm not here. And it's to your point. You don't have to be the traditional, let me just lay down, cross my arms, legs, whatever it might be. Interesting how we had that same thought, but thank you, Shayna, for bringing that up for both of us. Fantastic.
You're welcome. Glad it helps.
What's your suggestion for people that struggle with meditation?
That there's different ways to do it. And Carly, you mentioned the seasons earlier, and there's even times of day that have different energetics. And what I've found that is the most helpful is working with those energetics of the day rather than against them. And then there's so much more ease and flow within the day. And so, in the morning, 6 to 10 a.m., that's a kapha time of day. We have the most energy of the day, time to move, and you can still get things done. You can still align and be centered and meditate, and do it while walking or lifting weights or, whatever your thing is that you feel called to do. And then in the afternoon, it's more vata, more airy, more ethereal. It's easier to find stillness and meditation and that connection there. So, you don't have to do it at a certain time of day. You don't, do it all day. You can make everything a meditation, It's just how can you be centered? How can you receive within these different times of day and different activities?
It's so interesting. We're going in many different directions, but it's all about energy and understanding oneself. Should you set an intention for a meditation? Should you be thinking you have a goal or just let it go and see what comes up?
I personally like to do both, like kind of have the first part of my meditation connecting with the earth, clearing, thoughts, other people's energy, just getting really centered and aligned. And I have different ways that I found that help me do that. And then the latter half or however long, then I'm okay, I'm open to receive. What are we doing today? What do I need to do to help kind of thing? What do I need to do for myself? So yeah, that's what I prefer.
Carly, what are you thinking on that?
Yeah, as someone, I mentioned before that I struggled with meditating and understanding. I think my brain for so long in my life has been very type A, like I need a process, a rule, this in order to do it. Am I doing it right? Questioning myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had, and even talking to Shayna a lot too, I think um just giving yourself grace and trying different things. So for me, I even did a grounding practice with Shayna recently and I couldn't remember it. And so I kept getting hung up on those pieces and I ended up just reading the paper in my tone, in my voice, and then listening back as a voice note and following through. But as someone that couldn't sit for 15 minutes, I just went to a 10-day silent meditation retreat and course, and now I can meditate. I mean, was meditating for 10 days for 10 hours a day, and I have never felt more at ease in understanding. But it's because I knew the technique and my mind was moving. And so I say this because sometimes people can be more creative. Sometimes you have to start with knowing what you're wanting to kind of experience. And it goes back to the whole theme is like just allow yourself to feel what's best for you.
I did the same thing in many regards to what you just described. I made a commitment to myself last year to go on vacation by myself. I've never done it before. It's always somebody else, or I get on a plane and meet somebody, whatever it might be. And I just took myself to an island. It was super cheap, had a beautiful condo. It was a one, not if like 30-second walk to the beach. And once I calmed down from it took me 2 days to like get out of the New York mode. That's exactly what I did. And 3 months later, I went back and did the same thing, like 4 days. And I'm going to do the same thing in a few months from now again. But I sat all day in a chair overlooking the ocean and just was meditating and just thinking two words: life changing, life changing. That I need it. Like I need to go back. And it's not about on a tropical island. It's that feeling of grounded, connected, joy. It was amazing. It was amazing. And it sounds like that's kind of in line with when you described, I call it Steve retreat, kind of in line with what you were doing there too, Carly.
Yeah, and I think too, I was just doing having a conversation with one of my practitioners. She teaches children's meditation, and she was saying that one of the hardest things for her is kids at a very young age are always asking, oh, well, what do I need to do exactly? And they can't, they're not creating as they're meditating, as they're even guided. So I
Mm,
think to remember is like these programs are instilled in us at a very young age. And so just being okay with figuring it out and stumbling a little bit, or sometimes just saying, oh, th this isn't right for me, just like going to the gym early in the morning with a talkative friend.
hmm.
Or, I need to move my body a little bit, or
Yep.
hey, I'm feeling a bit stirred. I need some guidance on this meditation this afternoon, or wow, I'm really feeling intuitively I can tap in. And it can be different every day. There's the world, the universe is our oyster, right? So just like keeping that mindset while you're navigating through kind of anything within this space or anything you're trying new.
Each of you, I want to ask this question. We're almost out of time. I'm kind of sad about that. I want to just keep going. This is so much fun. Can we do this again? Um, in the last 6 months, give me two things that you learned based on what we're talking about. And I'm talking broadly, spiritual work, not just meditation, but it just in general, things that you realize or you learned. Two things last 6 months. Shayna, what came up for you?
Well, I'm going to repeat follow the heart. And what I learned, why that's so important is it's not only what is best for you, but also for the other person, if there's another person involved in your decision or your choice, that it's what is the heart is connected to ourself, to our higher self and to source. And it's literally what's best for everyone. The other person may not necessarily like it, depending on what you know, their programming, their past, their history they're bringing to the table. But it is without a doubt what's best for both parties.
Hmm. Uh, and I haven't even told my friend yet that I'm not going to be working out early anymore. And he's huge on shadow work. Huge. That's what he does. I mean, yeah. Um, got two things, Carly?
Yeah, one thing that's been really big for me is like showing up for myself more. And then, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it, and it's little acts of kindness, and I've really seen over the past 6 months doing those things, even if they're really small, or creating habits for yourself, showing up for yourself, the universe comes in big and it shows up for you. It reflects in those ways. And so we think, okay, I'm gonna clean the house, clean the room, something as simple as that. But when you say you're gonna do it and you complete it, it is a form of showing up, right? Even
Mm,
if it's I'm gonna drink 6 glasses of water, something simple. I'm gonna meditate for 5 minutes a day. Creating those little habits and actually doing them, or knowing that you're going to build that with yourself, create habits you know you can complete, and it's just alchemized everything. Like
mm,
doors are opening for me in ways that are rapidly coming in. And so yeah, just the simplicity. Sometimes I try to overthink things and think that I have to go really big with things, and it's just the day-to-day simplicity of it. So I would say that that's the big one. And then just keep being creative and finding different avenues, and don't be afraid to fail. Like no one's going to remember your first video, your first podcast that you've done, but these amazing ones that are transpiring and touching the world, 100 days later, that's where the magic is. So
Mm,
probably the two biggest things for me.
beautiful. And those things that you did, that first video, back when, that was the setup for the big one, I believe. And it sounds like what you're saying is honor your commitments. Even if the commitment is drink more water, 6 glasses a day, whatever it is, on a larger scale, it's showing you that you honor yourself, even though it's something small. What's come up for me,
Yes, please.
we just talked about it before, but movement. Now I'm thinking, yeah, we need to exercise, and I'm learning to lymphatic fluid in your body. You have to move, and it's all really important. I never thought of it this way, that you're moving energy as well. That's one of the reasons why you need to move. So that was, a thought that has come up. And these phrases, my mom used to say them all the time. And in my mind, I'd be in my 20s, I'd be thinking, yeah, I love you, Mom, but you're old. What do you know? It'll all work out, and go with the flow. She used to say it all the time. I'm like, shut up. Well, it's true. Everything does amazingly work out according to the universe. It really does. I guess you need some faith there. And go with the flow for me is that's the ocean of life. And if you're swimming in it and you try to fight the current and grab a rock on the side of the shore, or a branch, and I'm not swimming that way, you are swimming that way. You might as well just keep going, because you're gonna have to go there anyway. Like, it's the lesson that you need to learn. And those things, that's what came up for me, like big. And I see them coming true along the way. Wonderful talking with you both today. Fantastic. Really, really great conversation. Shayna, if somebody wants to connect with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, through my website, Vurusha.com, Vurusha, and on Carly's platform, elevateyoursoul.net.
I would love to do this again if you if you both are open to it. You both work well together. You get each other. I think you feel each other's hearts. That's what's coming up for me here today.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you again. And here's the good meditation, in the near future. And we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.